I was at a party a few years ago, and I ended up with my hand through the side of the glass part of a door, and so my arm sort of fell through, and then I pulled my arm back, but I basically cut it on the glass, and the tendon snapped, and then I basically was in a pool of my own blood, and it was spraying out everywhere and all that, and had to get taped up, and then was in the hospital and got eventually taken to the plastics unit in Lower Hutt, where I stayed for like a week. Then they stitched it up.
I got diagnosed with severe depression and major anxiety, and then dealing with that and kind of coming into the idea of self-harm, that was very self-destructive. It was a way of actually feeling something, especially when you're medicated quite highly, when you have a lot of pain inside and you can't actually release it or feel it. It was something that I turned to. The last time that I ever cut was in April 2014. Yeah, it's something that I have to live with and kind of accept as part of my life.
When I was 7, my family were out at church for a Christmas function, and we left quite late, and I was quite tired, so I ended up tripping over a speed bump, landed wrong on my elbow and twisted it to a point where the bone was sticking out. So I spent all my Christmas holiday and right through to February in hospital.
So when I was 14, I got Crohn's disease, and in 2011 I underwent an emergency surgery to remove my colon and had a temporary ileostomy bag for 6 months.
So I was 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with an incredibly rare form of melanoma. So it's not like your typical through use of like sunbeds or actually from like sunburns, stuff like that. It was more of like a sort of a genetic mutation. Because obviously I'm so young, I've only been in New Zealand 8 years, so it was quite a rare thing. So they removed the mole, and all the doctors were like, we're just moving it as a precaution, it's going to be fine because of your age, melanoma is sort of 50, 60-year-old kind of thing. But then when it came back positive, they were like, obviously, we're going to have to deal with that. So I was incredibly lucky and I didn't need any more treatment, but they had to do what's called a white excision, so I had to have a major surgery to remove like the skin around it. But I was very lucky that I didn't have to have a skin graft because it was on like the centimetre mark of not having to do one. So they managed to like sew it together with stitches. It was required like 3 weeks of bed rest to like not burst the stitches open.
So what happened is that, there is a long story behind the day where I got the scar. Nearly probably 8 months before the surgery, I had an accident on the bike. I was actually behaving like a stupid, playing around with the bike, and there was a hole. So I fell, the bike followed me. At the beginning I didn't notice what was happening, I just felt a strong pain. So a man collected me from the road, brought me at home, and my mom thought I was dead. So I broke my leg after a few months. I was walking again, I took the plaster away and everything was right. After a few months I was just playing in the garden and walking. I was actually just walking, and the leg broke again, like on its own without any accident. So they had to do a surgery. That's why it was, it's practically along all the leg.
Yes, I've got 2 scars. The first one is this one on the top. I was playing soccer in Auckland on Motutapu Island, which is very close to Rangitato Island, on a school camp. And the ground was quite wet and uneven, and the ball was kicked up into the, kind of in the air. And I was running to get the ball, and as I jumped to kick it as it was in the middle of the year, I lost my balance and put my arm out to kind of break my fall, and my arm gave out and snapped. The break was so clean that they needed to rejoin it, so it was able to fuse together. So it was a complete snap, right, almost in half, and yeah, I had to get helicoptered out pretty quickly. I was at that time 17. Yeah, so that's the story of the first scar. The second scar, I was in Canada, and I used to do a lot of street skateboarding and stuff like that, and so I got back into that over in Canada, and I was kind of getting a bit cocky with tricks and stuff like that, and jumping like a set of like 8 stairs. So it was quite a decent drop. So I was kind of jumping these stairs and grinding a ledge, and so I was attempting it, and everything was going fine. And I decided on this round I needed a bit more speed, but it was a bit too much speed, and so I jumped the stairs, almost grinded this ledge, but then the skateboard flicked out from under me. I stuck my arm out to kind of break my fall as like a natural reaction. Yeah, the arm gave out again and snapped. Pretty much from elbow to wrist, it was almost like in a shape like a Z. Yeah, I just remember seeing it and almost passing out. I think the break was very clean, and this time around it was just above the first plate. Pretty much snapped clean off, so they've decided that they had to open up and put another plate in there to fuse it together to kind of help it rejoin. So I've got 2 plates and I think about 6 pins in there.